Welcome, Farewell fans, and welcome back to another episode. And one thing I want to say is I want to thank Ari for coming on to the show. I want to thank, and I also want to thank the fans because y'all enjoy these interviews and it shows. So I have Ari here today, and he's here to share his story. And I love when people come and just share their stories because it's so personal, so intimate, and it inspires other people that may have questions or may have doubts and everything. So, all right, thank you for coming to the show. How you doing today?
Wonderful. Very happy to be here, MG. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So before we started, Ari said he has a podcast. Now, I am always in favor of interviewing other podcasters. It's a rare occasion where I get to interview other podcasters. So I have to really highlight this fact that I got another podcaster on the show. Like it's awesome. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was really during a break year where I got time to do a lot of stuff except working. So one of the things that I decided to do is meet a lot of interesting people. And it turns out having a podcast is a great way to do that.
Yes.
Because people will be like, yeah, I'll come on your show. And they did. So I got to meet the first American female firefighter, which was awesome. I got to meet a guy who has basically turned himself into like almost a cyborg. He's got implants under his skin. He can kind of hack your phone by just touching it. So you get to meet just the coolest people.
Hold on, wait. Let's go back to the tech part. Go back to the technology part.
Yeah.
He has implants under his skin.
Yeah. Yes. So he has a magnet in the tip of his finger, so he can sense with his basically can feel with his hands magnetic fields. Imagine that. I'm not sure I can either.
That is amazing. That's interesting. But I'm sorry, I was just intrigued by that part right there. Okay.
Yes. So here's tell you a short story he shared with me. So what do his good friends like to do? They like to chase him around with a Earth magnet. Now, if you're not familiar, Earth magnets are incredibly strong magnets. Yeah. So when that thing attaches, he's basically being pinched from the inside and outside of his skin at the same time.
That sounds like a huge. So basically, he can't even go and get a CAT scan or anything like that.
I'm not sure how that would work. That's a great question. I didn't ask that. That's a good one.
Because it uses a huge magnetic field.
That's right.
And
that's right.
It pulls on magnets. Like it sounds like it would literally take the implants out of his body.
Yeah, I don't think he can get one without taking it out. That would be brutal. It would basically be ripped out of his finger. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, but go ahead, finish.
Yeah, and although probably my most favorite guests are the ones that kind of help me figure shit out. One of my guests gave me some advice that helped me take my relationship with my daughter to the next level. So it's stuff like that I'm just so tremendously grateful for the guests that come on the show.
But I definitely understand that, and I will agree. When you have a podcast and you have all these guests come on, you meet a variety of people from different backgrounds. You learn things that you didn't think existed, or you didn't think that other people actually went through, because some of the situations be like very unique to taste and very unique to the person, and sometimes unique to the area. I'll share. So I had interviewed a guy in Holland, and he was telling me about his child support, and how is it different in Holland versus it is in the US. And he was telling me that prior to the baby being born, not only can you establish paternity, but you can actually establish child support prior to as well. And I was like, wait.
What? Say what?
You don't even have a Social Security number yet. And we went into this, this rabbit hole of comparing the US to Holland. And some of the similarities are the same, except they're just more strict over there when it comes to child support. Like once you're on, there's really no fighting or combating it. in the US, you can kind of fight it a little bit and try to get off for the most part. But over there, it's like once it's there, it's there. Like there's just no coming back from it. And I've had other unique guests that I've just had the unique pleasure of just meeting, and they all have been awesome. They all have been awesome. So let's talk about, now you said you have a daughter.
Yes, I had a daughter and 2 sons. That's right. Or
Daughter
a
and
daughter, a son, and a raptor is what we call the little one.
So, okay, so tell me how it is being a father of 3 beautiful children.
So, look, it's rough. I am definitely not, definitely not. I'll tell you, we did a pretty good job. So I felt, we went through the motions, we fucked up, we figured it out with the first 2. So coming into the third one, we were like, okay, we're pretty good parents now. We know what we're doing. We got our shit together. Like we're gonna do a great job here.
There's no parenting book.
It doesn't even work the same from between the children, right? So they kind of have to write a new book with child number 3. So yeah, we messed it up big time. He was kicked out of 2 schools until we figured out. Yeah.
So okay, so let's start. So when you first learned that you were going to become a father, like what did that feel like initially? Like was it planned, or was it like, okay, we found this out, we here, let's start planning and moving.
So it was. I didn't want to become a dad for a long time. And it just, to me, I just see all the responsibility and the financial aspect of it. And I really wanted to come into it as prepared as possible. And I in retrospect, 13 years later, I don't know that there is a number or a state where you can say, oh, I'm now prepared. Like, I don't know what that number is. So that's the first thing. But I was in the car with my brother. No, in the car talking with my brother. He was in the car driving with his kids. And up until that point, I was just like, no kids, no kids, no kids. And my wife was pushing hard, and I was pushing harder back. And then where I'm talking with my older brother, and we're just talking about shit, about technology and business. And I hear from the back, he kind of stops talking with me to a sec because one of his daughters wants something. So he starts talking with one of his daughters. And then at the end of their kind of short interaction, she's like, I love you, Daddy. Dude, my heart melted then and there. After that call with my brother, I called up my wife and I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Wow.
And that's the story.
Okay. Now, as you went through the first year with your first child, like which one is the oldest?
So Liam, my son, he's the oldest. He's 13 and a bit now.
Oh, you got a teenager.
Yeah. I'm learning the language of grunts. So he says, my wife asked him something. He's like, and I'm like, let me translate for you. That means, yes, Mom, I'll do that right away.
That's exactly what that means. Funny. So yesterday, me and my son was cutting grass. So I told him, I was like, look, I'm you go ahead, cut the grass. I'm an edge. So I'm edging and everything. He's cutting. So we have these all these electric products and stuff. You got to charge them and everything. So I say, so he gets done good, and I say, hey, can you go in the house and grab me the other battery, because there's still some more work that had to be done. Now, one thing I have learned about children is that this new generation, if you don't give them all the instructions, they tend to cop out early. So I say, hey, go in the house and grab me the other battery. He like, all right, well, it got to charge. Now, I didn't hear, oh, he got a charge. I thought he said it's on the charger. So I'm like, all right, okay, cool. So about 10, 15 minutes go past. I'm still edging, getting some weeds up. And I'm like, well, where did he go? He ain't came back yet. So I go to the house. I said, I thought you was bringing the other battery up. He's like, oh, no. I said I had to put it on the charger. Like, it's on the charger. All of them are low. I'm like, well, I thought all the batteries were charged. Yeah, I thought so too. Wait a minute. You knew we was cutting the grass. Why didn't you just go ahead and just charge the batteries? Like, so if I had told him Friday, hey, we're going to cut the grass Saturday, put the batteries on the charger, he would put on the charger. But because that instructions didn't come through, I automatically thought they were charged. Why would you think? Why would you think they automatically charged? Charge on forehead.
Yeah.
It's just a mental check. Charge on
What
forehead. So
what
he just
short
sit there.
what short circuits your son's brain? Is it computer games as well?
It is. It,
Yeah.
it
It's
is.
like the urge to get to that. Everything else is just like, oh, what's the shortest version of this that I can do?
I came home and then I said, son, I was like, does it ever dawn on you that when you wake up, say, you know what, my dad would appreciate if I just cut the grass?
Yeah.
No, because you've been here all day, like or clean the house up, or wash the dishes, take the trash out. Does that anything ever dawn on you? And he just looked at me, he was like, then he said, he was like, well, I went to work today, and I was like, well, you know what, the Ring camera wasn't working on the front door, so I can't tell you whether you did or not. But he said he went to work. But I always wonder that, like, do you ever wonder, like, some of the, like, with edging the grass, like
Mm.
the I guess sometimes the awareness is just not there. I'm like,
Yeah.
why don't you like, if you see the trash overflowing, why do you keep putting more garbage in the trash? It's
Here,
just
here's the thing that I found out by mistake. We had some crisis. I can't remember what the crisis was, but I was stressed out of my mind, and I basically told the kids, like, do everything that you would do if I was actually asking you to do all the things, and just get your shit together, do it all. Because I was taking care of some crisis, can't remember what it was. And at the end of the day, like, they did like 30, 40 things without me saying a word.
okay.
Okay, so they saw that I was in distress, and they
Yeah,
just got all the shit done, like all of it.
okay.
So to me, that means they can do it. Like, it's not impossible if they want to. So when they see dad needs the help, and he can't handle his shit because he's got something else cooking, then they can do it. Happened once, has never happened again since. But they can if they want to. It just doesn't happen very often.
No, that's one thing I would agree to. If it needs to be done, it'll be done.
That's right.
I guess when I look at it, I'm just like, I see it, you see it. One of us got to do it, and it's not gonna be the one that pay the bills. I don't have much time on my hands. I need you to take care of it. So now, when you're not your second son is the second oldest, right?
So the
Or
second is the daughter. So boy, girl, boy. Yeah, she is 11. A lot of drama there. Just a couple weeks ago, we're both screaming at each other, and I can't figure out. I'm screaming at her. She's crying. But we can't figure out. We're trying to figure out together what's wrong. Neither of us knows. It took us about 10 minutes to figure out that everything's okay. And I'm like, so we're okay, right? And what was the problem? We don't know. So we work through it.
so let me ask you, now, how is it being a girl dad? Like, cause I don't have a girl. Like, I have one son, and that's it. I had some guy kids, um, I'm not trying. I'm not easy on them. Like, I'm kind of hard because they're not my kids, so I ain't got to see them every day. I get to send them back home.
Man, I think I'm only at the beginning of my road with my daughter, but the way it's being described to me is that at the age of kind of 11, 12, where I'm at right now, a demon inhibits your daughter and takes over their body.
Not
And
in.
then, 10 years later, the demon leaves, and, they love their daddy again. So that's how it's been described to me. But
Okay.
I heard something from, this is a young woman. She's like 19, 21. And her statement was that, yes, this is true that kind of, young women go through things, as do young boys, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, but the relationship that you had before kind of their maturing and puberty and all that is incredibly important. So her recommendation is kind of really invest in the relationship before the teenagers go through their own thing.
Okay. Now, I've heard that, and I can only speak for my son because I know once he became a teenager, because a lot of the things that we did together started to be done with his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Used to go to the
Yeah.
movies, don't go
Yeah.
to the movies. Used to, go and eat together, don't go and eat together. Is like I had to figure out what his schedule is before I plan to do anything with him. Like, what are your plans for the weekend? Let's
That's right.
plan something. Oh, well, I'm already busy. Okay. Like, so, but that the communication is still there. and we talk, but I also realize that he has his own life. Now,
Yeah.
just for perspective, my son's 19.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
so well he'll be 19. Sorry, he'll be 19. I just call him 19 because it's it's close. Our birthdays are like a month, like 2 months apart. So, but he'll be 19, and I realize that he has his own life, and now
yeah,
he's growing, and he's getting to the point where he's probably going to want his own space.
yeah.
And when that happens, I'm gonna throw the biggest party that that space has ever seen. Like it's gonna have a whole light show. It's gonna have music. It's gonna last about 5 days. It's gonna be the biggest party you ever seen. Like the whole block is invited. When he moves out, like it's gonna be the greatest thing ever. He's gonna be like, "So why are you having such a long party?" Because I'm finally free. Like
There you go.
you'll never hear from me for I don't know how long. You're never gonna hear from me. Like I'm gonna live my whole 20-year span all over again. So now how would you categorize your relationship with all your kids? Because it's different personalities, different year. Well, how old is
Mm.
the youngest? I'm sorry.
Yes, the youngest is 6.
The youngest is 6.
Yeah.
That's a ball of energy there.
Oh my God. I'm pretty sure he's kind of like I was growing up, hyperactive. He just goes on and on and on, and then he'll like have a short like power nap, and then he'll just go on and on and on. Yeah, he really is testing out parenting capabilities for sure.
So now, have you ever heard of? Now, I am the oldest of 4.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's 2 on my dad's side, 2 on my mom's side. So now, there. Do you have any siblings?
Yes, too.
2. You're the what? Where you for?
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest. Okay. So hey, so have you ever heard about the sibling paradigm?
Vaguely, yes. Kind of the
Vaguely.
stereotypical, younger, older, yeah.
Yeah. The older is pretty much the leader, the one that
Yeah.
gets left out of the
Mature
cold. The second
responsibility,
one
yeah.
comes in, but then the third one comes in. The second one gets left out. They becomes a rebellious one, and then the youngest one is treated as is given the most favor because they're the youngest. They're the baby of the group. Would you say that paradigm actually exists amongst your 3 kids?
I I think it does for different reasons.
Okay.
First of all, we are getting tired as parents. Like the energies that we had when with the first one, I'm not sure we have those anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the younger one definitely gets away with a lot more. Um, and then, I think you're kind of stressed out with the first one, the second
Yeah.
one, and you're kind of trying to figure shit out all the time. You
Yeah.
don't know what the
Yeah.
thing is.
Yeah.
So everything is really serious. And I think that they pick up on that energy that you're putting out.
Yeah.
By the time, you're at the third one, you're like, it's fine. And that kind of chill, relaxed energy, I think the third one picks up. Um, so yeah, we definitely see differences in how we're parenting, and for sure that's affecting, that affects them. But it's, at some stage they kind of like they're both pretty much, young, to varying degrees. They're actual like human beings, right? And you can talk to each and every one of them, and then you kind of need to figure out that actually they're, the changes in age don't matter anymore, and you need to give each of them what they need.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we are right now. My son, my son asked me like the other day, like, "Dad, are you my friend?" And I'm like, "No." He was like, so,
Hold on,
he was
was
like,
it the youngest or the oldest?
it was the oldest. And so like, and then he's like, "Oh, you're my best friend, right?" I'm like, "No, I'm your dad." You didn't like that.
And 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 let's be honest, as parents, like that is a very difficult task to balance because they're looking for a friend
Yeah,
and they want to do things with you as a friend,
right.
and they want to, and sometimes they want to talk to you like how you talk to other people.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we can't talk like that. Like this is a different dynamic,
Yeah,
Like I'm not your friend. I'm your father, and we're going to maintain that dynamic. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't come talk to me,
yeah,
but you got to regulate how you talk, what you say, the words you use. You can't come over here and just start cussing. Like
Oh, so what happened 10 minutes, 30 minutes later, my daughter comes along and then she's like, Daddy, am I your friend?
Monkey see, monkey do. Now,
So she's
now,
like, oh, I'm his friend. You're not.
see, that's not even right. Now, you now let's switch gears a little bit. So let's switch gears a little bit. Okay, so coming from military intelligence and leading in tech, how did your definition of strength evolve, especially in fatherhood and relationships?
Yeah. Um, it's a really difficult question, right? Because I think it's evolving all the time. And when I was younger, personally, it was very black and white, right? So
True.
I had this view of the world of, there's right and there's wrong, and you're either on the right side of it or you're not.
Right.
And I was actually well, I got like 10 stories to tell. Let me pick one. I was in China, and I'm talking to a colleague, and clearly I asked them a very direct question about how they were operating,
Okay.
and he gave me an answer. 4 weeks later, I'm in China again, and I can see that he lied to me. So I ask him the same question again, and then he takes me aside and he says to me, "Okay, Ari-san, the way you asked that question before in front of everyone, if I would have given you a truthful answer, that would have shamed the team." So
Mhm.
basically, in Asia, so I learned the saving face and respect and kind of rank can be more important than the truth. Well, us in Western cultures, the truth has an incredibly high value, right? A lie is, incredibly frowned upon.
Right.
Um, for me, what I defined my values, I learned that, well, other people have different values and see things differently. So it started off as black and white, truth, lies, right, wrong, strength, weakness. And then I can kind of figure it out along the way that different people have different definitions of what is important to them. And just because something's important to you, it might not be important to somebody else. And that just makes it very difficult.
It does. So based on that story, and I'm going to say that story is very interesting, and I do agree with you that the truth in Western culture is high value. Tell me the truth, no matter whether it hurts or anything. Tell me the truth. I don't want to be deceived. I don't want to be lied to.
Yeah.
Right. But you're saying in Eastern civilization, Eastern culture, that saving face is way better than telling the truth. So how do you use that in your approach to parenting and other relationships? Not so far as deception, but just so far as saving face in front of others and maybe having a private conversation based on the story that you told.
Yeah. I think what's important, so I think separating between people that are close to me and people that are not close to me is interesting, because telling the truth and being honest sometimes can be difficult, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're giving, difficult feedback. So the question to me is like, is this the right thing to do? And sometimes the answer is no, because it can be hard to receive, what you have to say. So I think that's the first question, right? Is this worth it? And I can tell you, I don't always get it right. I chose very poorly a couple weeks ago, and I said something to my wife that I regret saying. It was true. It was honest. It was not kind or nice, and the difference between kind and nice, that's a very important distinction. And I beat myself after for a while for doing that. So I think we make mistakes even after kind of figuring something out. But to me, it ended up being like, okay, if you are saying something that is true, are you being kind? Now, it might not feel nice, but if you are doing somebody something kind is to their benefit, and you're doing it in a way that that they're open to it and it's the right timing and it's the right environment and it's the right set of mind, and you think that they can gain value out of it and it's not just being said to be hurtful, then to me that's okay. So it's a lot of questions about how it's going to be received. This kind of, just speaking to say your truth, if there's no value in it, I think that has less value in my mind nowadays. But then on the other hand, we were in a company and nice was one of the values of the company. So we basically couldn't say or behave in any way that wouldn't be pleasant, right? Wouldn't be nice. So, try and negotiate a contract with a vendor if you have to be nice. Try to give feedback about decisions that you think are going poorly if you have to sugarcoat the shit out of everything. It becomes challenging. So, learning the difference between nice and kind, that became really interesting for me from a definition standpoint. And then how to be kind while being honest, and how being honest while being kind.
So I want to add on to that, and I like the way that you put it. But I want to add on to that, because when you're talking about how do you be nice and kind and say stuff honestly and truthfully, sometimes it depends on, and I'm really big on communication, and in all aspects of communication. Yeah. So when we're talking about being nice and kind, it's also the tone that you inflict into that conversation.
Right.
Because you can say something, and the way you say it and the tone you say it in, the way that person perceive it is it could sound negative. It could sound very, unkind.
Absolutely.
So if you rephrase it and try to put it in a more pleasantly receiving manner, I'll say that, more pleasantly receiving manner, then it's more. It could be accepted more. So one of the lines that I like, and me and one of my friends had a conversation about this, because they would say that, oh well, I think I'm getting fat. Do you think that I'm fat? And me, being as honest and direct as I am, I say, yeah, it does look like you're getting fat. You probably should go work out. And to me, it's like, well, you asked me the question and asked me to reaffirm. Right. I reaffirmed.
Right.
And then I gave additional feedback. And then what I get is, well, you're not supposed to say that I'm fat. I'm like, well, you asked me the question.
Right.
And we all know that this is a conversation between the opposite sexes. So you already know it gets kind of bad. Yeah. So now she said, well, I think I'm getting fat. Do you think I'm fat? And I said, no, I don't think you're fat. You look just right. Now that goes back to your story of saving face and not telling the truth and being deceptive. But then again, in American culture, we want the truth when it's beneficial, but we want deception in certain cases where we're kind of affirming, how we feel, and especially when it comes to the opposite sex, like say something different than what I'm feeling in those situations. Now, I'll refer. So if there is the same situation, hey, I'm fat. Do you think that I'm fat? And I come and said, well, I don't think that you're fat, but if it ever at a point you want to get into the gym, work out, tone up, then we could definitely do that together. Now, that's not saying that they're fat, but it is saying that, hey, you could stand and work out if you think that you're fat, but we can do it together. So now you're inserting yourself into the conversation, into the workout plan, to say that, I could probably use some tone up as well. So now you're putting yourself along the same level with them. So now you're saying something that is, one, nice, two, a little deceptive, but not as much. But you're also include yourself in the problem, and you're preventing a solution to say, hey, we can do it together. If you want to decide that you ever want to tone up. So it's a little better way of saying it. without saying that they're fat. And if they're really good with it, like, oh, so you basically saying that I'm fat because you want me to go to the gym. This is not even what I said. It's just a little piece out of there. It's not even what I said.
So I've taken a different approach. Um, to me, the question is, what is she actually asking? And the question I think that she's asking is, do you love me? Not, do you think I'm fat?
Okay.
But you ask a certain question, you're not going to say I love you, right? That's not going to work.
Right.
So what I've established is that I don't actually care about thin, fat. It doesn't matter. And what I've said is, look, I want to have as much time together, the two of us, and that means that we both need to be healthy. So if you gain weight or lose weight, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you do a certain amount of exercise every day or certain times a week and eat healthy, because that means that we'll have long and healthy lives and we'll be able to spend a lot of time together. So I reject the question. Step away from the car. Like that question is a trap if I've ever seen one. So I think if you reframe the question that, this is about the future of our relationship and we want to be healthy and I love you and, and at the end of the day, both of us, right? We are the most beautiful that we will ever be. It's a downhill from here. Like shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, right? You get older, you don't look like you were when you were 20.
That's true.
So if you just acknowledge that you are the most prettiest that you will ever be, and that's not a bad thing, it's just life, and that you should enjoy life as it comes. And really the goal is to be happy and healthy, and everything else is just superficial. I'll love you now, I'll love you in 20 years.
I agree. That reframe the whole situation. Reframe the question. Don't do like M&G does and just go directly into the trap. Steer away from the trap.
Well, if that dress don't fit you and it did last month, obviously something changed.
Don't follow M&G rules. I'm not tonight. My rules. I'm not reframing the question. I'm answering it directly the way you asked me. That's how I roll. Right.
Let's get the scale. I mean, clearly you've gained 20 pounds. So
And look, I am not calibrating this scale to be 20 pounds off. Like, it's not going to say 150 like it did a month ago. It's going to say 170. Like, you gained 20 pounds. So we talked about, successes, and we talked about reframing questions. So can you share a moment what failure taught you essential about being present?
yeah. So, wow, a lot of failure to talk about. This this one was, I raised money from Techstars, running company. That was a great milestone, right? Raising money.
Yeah.
At that moment, my son almost got hit by a car. So basically, he was very young. I think he was about 3 years old, maybe younger. He somehow, on his tippy toes, was able to basically open the front door, even though it was locked,
Oh,
and get out of the front door and run into the street. And we were searching frantically to find him. After that incident, we installed a third lock even higher, so there was no way in hell he could get to that, open a locked door.
yeah.
He's also very tall, like he's like 99th percentile on the height.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that was that. I was scared shitless. My wife and I had a big fight, and for me, the big takeaway that I was so consumed by the business, I just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I was asking a lot from everybody else, basically. So at that moment, I really had to look in the mirror and say, okay, what does it mean? What are my goals? What does it mean to be present? And I definitely made some changes.
Okay. And I understand that. And, I have let me think for a second. So, so in the same similar situation with yours. So for 10 years, let's say about 10 years, I wasn't as present in my son's life. And when I say when I wasn't as present, it's because that I focused more on monetary gains versus actual time being spent with my son. So when I took custody of my son, I ended up having to go on child support. but I had to supplement that money. But eventually, when I got off of child support, the goal was to leave the second job that I was working. So I was working 7 days a week while going to school and raising my son. So you can imagine that the time that I had with him wasn't a lot. So if we put it into perspective, he's in school, I'm working an 8-hour shift. We maybe have maybe an hour together, but I'm using that talking to other people, or I am having a conversation with him, but maybe it's a conversation because he did something in school and, we're talking about it. So it's a disciplinary conversation, which is not always the greatest conversations when you're talking to your kids. They ain't going to school for another 4 hours because it's night classes. So, they put it all together. So going for the school for another hour. So that's like 6 to 10. Then get out of there, pick him up. He's already tired, want to go to sleep. So then there's no time there. So it's, bedtime. And then, we started all over again. So that's a few days, Monday through Friday, outside of studying and everything. And then another 8-hour, 10-hour shift, or maybe a double Saturday and Sunday. Okay. So did that for about 10 years, missing out. And it didn't miss out on key points, still was there for graduation, they're still there for events and everything. But you still miss out just on that personal time that you have with your child, just watching them grow and interact and have exchanges and everything. I feel like he spent more time with my mom and my brothers than he actually spent with me during that period. And from that point, from when he got to high school, I made it my sole purpose to say, I'm going to be there for him during the high school years to further build on a relationship that I felt like I missed out because I was chasing money to provide our lifestyle. And that's when I learned about the value of time. Because if I would have spent the time with him versus chasing the money, I think we still would have been all right. It wouldn't have, it's not like the money enhanced, or, I made more money, but it's not like I needed the money. I didn't really need the money. It was just good to have it. And, when you get into the hustle and bustle of just having the money and you can buy this and you can buy that, it's kind of hard to walk away from. So when I finally walked away from it, I was satisfied about the decision because throughout his whole high school, I was there every day with him talking, especially because it was during the pandemic. So, he was pretty much, at home all the time. So just having a conversation, monitoring how school going and just being able to have a conversation. So I understand about being present because I was present during those important events, but I don't think I was so much present as a father because yes, I was in a household, but because I had my hands in so many different things trying to improve the later days, getting a degree, having the money to take care of things. And then, so our future would be a lot greater, or better. I spent all that time just in what I would say his growing years. So that's like from 4 up into high school, like 13, 14. I pretty much worked like 2 jobs just trying to benefit and maintain, our lifestyle. Now he may say he didn't miss out on anything. Like Dad, you was always there, and this, one of the most emotional moments for me is when and I actually thought I was doing a bad job as a father. I will be honest with everybody. I thought I was doing a bad job as a father. Is when he had met at graduation for high school. They get to say who they looked up to, and he could have picked anybody. I heard people say they mom, they dad. I heard people say LeBron James and all kind of names, and who they looked up to. But I didn't hear mom and dad so much, but I did hear like LeBron James and stuff like that. I heard them. But he had said, my dad is a person that I looked up to, and he wrote a paper on me and everything, and it was very emotional because out of everything that I had did, I really thought that I was behind the 8 ball on parenting, because I'm like, I don't feel that I'm measuring up. I don't feel like I'm being present. I don't feel like I'm doing all the things I needed to do. That's why I had stayed away from that second job. And even though, I'll be coming down hard on him in all the conversation, I just really thought he looked somewhere else like, somebody else is my hero, and not my dad. So, to hear that at graduation was definitely one of the most emotional parts, letting me know that everything that I was doing, I did right. And I was probably more present than I thought I was during the time that I was doing it.
I think we underestimate sometimes the value of the example that we show. And,
Yeah.
my wife complains about this. She's like, oh, she feels like shit traveling for work. Because she is away from the kids for a week. It's like, oh, I'm a terrible mom. And my response is no. You are showing your young daughter, that you can go out there and kick ass and be successful. And she's a pharma executive, and you're showing her by example all the things that she can be.
Right.
And if that ain't amazing parenting, right, giving her that example, I don't know what it is. But it's rough. It really is rough being away from your kids. I think the flip side of this, to encourage the women that are going after their dreams and still being great moms. The flip side of this, it was a surprise to me, is I was scared shitless, especially with this first kid when mom was traveling. I was like, oh, how am I going to deal with this? And this, it's not a surprise, right? Dads they'll bring over mom, they'll bring over a babysitter, like anything to kind of help if mom's out of the picture for travel or something. I didn't do that. And what I found is that being the only parent in the house without anybody else, right? No grandma, no sister-in-law, nothing like that. The kids had me, and that was it. And sure, I was scared initially, but what I found is that this was just such an amazing and huge opportunity to connect with the kids.
Right.
Because suddenly you are the person, you are fulfilling that, that mom role, that primary caregiver role. And that just built the relationship with my kids that I didn't have before that happened. So, one thing that I'll say is that sometimes you have no idea, but the really hard parts, they're the best parts. And just having that mindset that the hard parts, the worst parts can be the best parts.
Yeah.
I think that's something that just surprised me, and that's important.
You know what? It is. And one of the things I want to put out of what you said is being the example.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the biggest things that kids absorb.
Yes.
Is being the example. I put examples from, like, my mom is I say she's a workaholic. She will disagree. She will say she's not a workaholic. But I've seen my mom, because being raised, my mom, I was raised by my grandma and my auntie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because my mom went out and she worked every day, diligently, and to provide the lifestyle that we had. And I picked that up. And I think I picked it up in, like, great succession, like just amazingly picked that up, just because I seen her day in and day out go to work. It was one night, there was a thunderstorm, lightning cracked across the sky, thunder boomed. I was a little kid, got up out the bed, ran downstairs to jump into my mom's bed, and she was not there. This was like maybe like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, not there. And my grandma came downstairs, and she was like, boy, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, like where's my mom at? It was like, she going to work. And I'm like, it's too early to be at work. Why is she at work? But that's where the example came from. Right. Is regardless of the case, being able to get up and go and provide for your family and be an example. For my son, I've always said that the life I live is I live for my son, because I'm going through things that I can teach him, that I can show him, that from my experience, he can learn and not fall subject to those same experiences, whether it be relationships, whether it be parenting, whether it be stuff that you go through at work. I have the conversations with my son. Like, I'll ask him, how was your day? He'll tell me, like, well, like he was having issues at work. He would say, well, the managers and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, son, I understand, but you have to look at it like this. Don't go there to go off on your managers or anything like that, because you start to pick up those habits and think that, well, if they let me get away with it, I can get away with it somewhere else. And I'm like, no, you just have to, going back to reframing, you have to reframe your thinking. You can't think that you're going to go off on somebody and it's going to make you feel better. It's really not. Because honestly, if you go off on them, then they're going to fire you, and that kind of ends, the money that you have coming in. From doing a podcast to doing animation, just showing him that you can start your own business. You just have to be diligent at it. You have to be patient and watch it grow and build your clientele. So being that example for him, and he can see it, being able to see it. I had wrote some books years ago, and he was able to see and feel the book, like to be able to see that. At a young age, it gets in your head, it gets into your spirit, and it gets into your body, and it's just like,
absolutely,
he did this, and this is something that will forever live on. But regardless of the case, it will forever live on, that this is something that my dad had achieved. So if he can do this, then I know I can do great things, even better than what he did.
And that's incredibly important, right? Because I think one of the biggest challenges is that kids don't know what they can do.
Yeah.
And they can do a lot more than they believe. And, it's very easy for them to get an influence that tells them that they can't do as much as they believe that they can do.
True.
And honestly, it's such a gift for somebody to show them that they can do a lot more than they believe. And that's, I think, where the magic is. This is definitely not a success story because it ended in tears, but the successful part of it is that when my daughter was 10, she was studying college grade psychology.
Wow.
And I would, she'd read the book and study the chapter. She'd write summaries, and then I would test her.
Okay.
And she would pass my tests. And if she didn't, there were repercussions. Now, this is terrible parenting. We totally pivoted away from it, but the story of the failure is quite interesting, and the success that followed after that failure. But my point to her was that, yes, you hate this. Yes, it's suffering. But you're 10 and you're doing something that college students do.
Right.
And you did not believe you could do this. So if there's one thing that you should take away from this, is that you can do things that you don't believe you can do. So you don't know your limit. I don't know your limit. Don't let anybody else tell you what your limits are. I didn't come at it right, and that whole exercise and the way we did that, I stopped doing that. We're doing something else now. But that was, I think, a pivotal point for her to know that she can do a lot more than what she thinks. And she was like, Daddy, like, why do I have to do this? This is college grade studies. Like, this is crazy. Like, I shouldn't do this. I'm like, yeah, but I want to show you that you can.
Right. You know what? I like that. I love that. And the reason why I love it is because I like psychology, but I also love it because you're giving your daughter the example that she can do whatever she wants to do, and there is no barriers, there's no obstacles. The only barrier and obstacle is yourself.
Is yourself, 100%. 100%.
So I like that, and that's the same thing that I told my son. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. The only barrier and obstacle is yourself, because you can get through other obstacles, you can get through other barriers. That's not a problem. But when you start telling yourself and doubting yourself, that's when the real challenges start to happen, because now you got to get over your own self-confidence. Now you got to get over your own fear. You got to start gaining some self-awareness to see where your strengths and where your weaknesses lie, and start using your strengths more, and then start trying to overcome your weaknesses.
Absolutely.
I think that's good. I think I love that. I really, really love it. That is awesome. because now she has that confidence. Like, okay, I know I can do this, and this is years beyond me, and I know that I can do this.
Yeah. I think the it ended in tears at the end.
I believe it. I believe it.
But we talked about the value of talking to really smart people all the time through the podcast and whatever way you can make it work. One of my guests came and she taught me all about intrinsic motivation. And she was like, look, like, it's great that you want her to do hard things. It's great that you want to show her what she can do. It's like your heart is in the right place, but the way you're coming at it is wrong. Like, you should not choose for her what she does. So I was like, okay, what should I do? She's like, figure out what she loves and then challenge her on that. So I asked, I asked her, well, what are you doing at school? And I found out that for her, like, advanced whatever project at school, she was writing a book of poems. So I said to her, okay, how about we, level up on this? And she's been wanting a cat for a long time, and I've been saying, nope. I don't know if we can curse on your show, but I didn't say just no. So and I said, okay, let's level this up. If you can publish that as a book and get picked up by a tier 2 publisher, right, a serious publisher, then I'll get you the cat. And now she's studying a poetry book. She's writing a poem every day and an illustration every day. And as before, when she was studying the psychology book, Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman, I had to kind of shout at her to get her to do the work. Like, oh, have you done your work today? Oh, and no more. She is just doing it on her own every day. I don't say a word. And she works on it for far more than kind of we agreed that she'll do it for like an hour. She just loves this. And she has probably written so far over 50 poems and illustrations.
Oh,
it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, there's something about, yes, sure, understanding that, working hard is a thing you need to learn how to do. And sometimes you need to be pushed in order to figure out how to do it. But once you know how to work hard, that's not enough. You need to want to do what you want to do, right? You need to, I don't know if you remember this movie, I want you to want to wash the dishes. don't just wash the dishes, want to wash the dishes.
yes.
And kind of that's what I figured out, that she needs to want to do the thing she's doing. And poetry was that for her. And it's just exploded since. And she's basically very close to publishing 2 books. And she's 11.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. And I'm a lover of poetry, so that is amazing. All right, one thing I want to say before we get up out of here is thank you for coming on the show. This has been an awesome conversation. Okay, I'm gonna put it in my top 5. Top 5. There's not many shows up there, so it's definitely gonna go in my top 5. So, is there one last thing that you want to say to the Farewell fans? Just kind of summing up or about anything that we had talked about.
Yeah, I mean, what's true for the children, right? That they can do much more than they even know. Is true for each and every one of us, and true for everyone listening to the show today. Each and every one of us can do a lot more than we even believe. And it's not about, for me, just, inspiration talking like, oh, go do it. Like, I don't think that matters so much. For me, it's just about, decide where you want to get, build a plan, figure out where you are, where you're going, step by step, and just baby steps, eat that elephant one bite at a time and you'll get there. And that's what I've seen with my kids. That's what I've seen with myself. And, I truly believe that that's true for everyone. Just keep at it, chip at it, and you'll get there, even if it looks impossible.
I like that. That is a great message. All right, Farewell fans, we are out of here. We'll catch y'all on the next interview. Catch you on the next show. Peace.
Thank you, Angie. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.